August 20th, and as the day begins, stockbrokers and investors just might be feeling a little bit lightheaded. That's because they're reaching unfamiliar altitudes.
That's right. When the closing bell sounded to end trading on the New York Stock Exchange yesterday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average stood at an all-time high. Yet while the market is soaring, confidence in the economy is relatively weak. So what's wrong with this picture? In a few moments, we will get some insight from our money editor, Tyler Matheson, and also from leading economist, David Jones. Now, our fearless forecaster, Spencer Christian, is off today, so we are very pleased to welcome Tracy Butler of our affiliate WRIC-TV in Richmond, Virginia. Nice to have you here, Tracy.
Thank you very much. As you probably know, that is Spencer Christian country down there.
That's right.
That's his hometown area anyway. So I'm here to try and fill his shoes or sneakers, as Morton suggested earlier. But today, to tell you about the weather, heavy rain is likely in the flood-ravaged Midwest. And I'll let you know just how much will fall today and into the weekend in this hour. Mort.
Thank you, Tracy. And putting a price on the head of wanted terrorists. In this half hour, we'll hear about a government-sponsored bounty. Right now, Catherine Cryer of ABC News and 2020 has the news. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Mort. Good morning, everyone. An arrest in the shooting of a doctor outside an abortion clinic in Wichita, Kansas. Oklahoma City police picked up a 37-year-old woman about 4 hours after George Tiller, a doctor there, was slightly wounded in both arms. Phil LeBeau of ABC's Wichita affiliate KAKE has more on the shooting.
I heard him fire 3 to 5 shots.
It's a scene many people were afraid they'd see. Dr. George Tiller lying in front of his clinic, shot by a protester.
It was just one right after another. Boom, 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 boom.
She comes kind of in back between us, and next thing we know, we hear the shots and the glass is shattered.
Local protesters say the shooter was a stranger from California. She walked up to Dr. Tiller's truck and fired 5 shots from a handgun.
I don't know where she pulled it from. The next thing I saw her pointed into the window and fired 2 shots. And it was silver. And then she turned and took off.
The suspect escaped in a car with Oklahoma license plates. Anti-abortionists say she never gave any indication she planned on shooting Dr. Tiller.
It looked like she was observing what we do, you know, and she wanted to stay until, you know, did see Tiller come out.
As paramedics took Tiller to the hospital, people on both sides of the abortion issue stood in shock, stunned, and realizing that the abortion battle had taken a violent turn.
It scares me to death now that I think about it because, I mean, I didn't think that people would stoop this low to do something to somebody like that. I'm shaken, and I think this has to stop. I think these people are nuts.
This is Phil LeBeau for ABC News.
The trial of Damian Williams and Henry Watson is underway in Los Angeles. 2 of the men charged with beating truck driver Reginald Denny at the start of last year's L.A. riots. In opening arguments yesterday, the prosecutor showed jurors images from a videotape of the beating. A defense attorney called Williams and Watson scapegoats and predicted an acquittal. President Clinton reportedly has helped Boeing and McDonnell Douglas sell some jets overseas. Saudi Arabia decided yesterday to buy $6 billion worth of planes from the 2 companies. According to the LA Times, the deal was closed after Mr. Clinton called Saudi King Fahd directly and that the king agreed to buy American to thank the U.S. for its help during the Gulf War. Another delay for John Demjanjuk. Israel's Chief Justice has given Holocaust survivors and Nazi hunters another 15 days to make their case against the retired Cleveland auto worker. More on the story from ABC's Ron Allen in Jerusalem.
Today's ruling is a major victory for Demjanjuk's accusers, who now have about 2 weeks to prepare arguments for why he should face new war crimes charges.
This gives us hope that ultimately justice will be done in the state of Israel. In that respect, this is a good day.
Demjanjuk has been found not guilty of being Ivan the Terrible of Treblinka, but during the course of his trial, other evidence was presented that suggests he still may have been a guard at other death camps.
Every day that Demjanjuk is sitting in jail and suffering, and his family suffering, for me, it's a day of happiness.
Even though the Israeli courts are under enormous pressure to allow every avenue of appeal, it was widely expected Demjanjuk would be released today. In various hearings, 8 different Supreme Court justices, including the justice who ruled today, have already said he should be freed. Israeli prosecutors have also said a new trial is not in the public interest, and the chances of convicting Demjanjuk are slim. Demjanjuk's family was saddened by today's ruling.
we're going to be back. You know, we're going to be back. We have to see that justice is done here. And it was painful sitting in the courtroom listening to these people make all these arguments that I think have no real legal basis whatsoever.
The latest appeals for a new trial were filed only 2 days ago. The president of the Supreme Court apparently wants to avoid making a hasty decision. But Demjanjik's family insists he is perhaps the first person ever held in an Israeli prison for several weeks after being found innocent of a crime. Ron Allen, ABC News, Jerusalem.
The parents of 7-week-old Siamese twins know the odds are against them. Their babies undergo a long and dangerous operation today to separate them. Doctors in Philadelphia say one of the twins will die, and the chances are very slim that the other will survive. More from Marianne Childers of ABC station WLS.
Word of impending surgery sent the Lakeburg family reeling and back to Philadelphia, the city they'd left less than 24 hours earlier. They carry with them the baby's christening certificates and photographs, and despite the odds, hope.
They're my babies. And it's something I have to do. I couldn't just give up. I couldn't do it.
The Lakeburgs tell me that they're proceeding with the surgery in large part because they don't want the babies to suffer, to die painfully from suffocation.
This way they'll be under an anesthetic, plus they won't feel it. We won't be there to witness it, and we've got that small chance.
Doctors here say they respect the family's decision.
We take the position that they have the right to choose for their children, even under extreme circumstances. If there was felt to be essentially no reasonable chance, we would be giving them the advice to terminate treatment.
But the doctors are increasingly concerned about the baby's ability to withstand surgery.
We feel that it is better to go ahead now because of the delicate condition of the babies, and we are concerned about deterioration.
In Philadelphia, Marianne Childers reporting for ABC News.
It was basketball star Michael Jordan's first public statement since his father was killed. I lost my dad. I lost my best friend, he says. And Jordan writes he's trying to deal with the loss of his father in a way that would make him proud. Now back to Morton Dean and Tracy Butler.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. And it's 8 minutes after the hour. And while Spencer is on vacation, Tracy Butler is filling in. How are things going? It's not Richmond, but it's not bad.
That's quite all right. It's been very hot and muggy in Richmond the whole summer. So to come a little further north for a little bit, even though it's been hot and muggy here quite a bit,
so tell us what's going on today, Tracy.
Okay, we need to get to the weather because a lot of folks I know are concerned about the record high. In fact, it's been a history-making week on Wall Street. On Wednesday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average crossed the 3,600 threshold and closed yesterday at the highest level ever, over 3,612. You'd expect a skyrocketing stock market to reflect a strengthening economy. But that logic and economics don't always mix, as our money editor Tyler Matheson explains.
1993 has been one of Wall Street's best years ever. The Dow Jones Industrial Average began the year at a strong 3,300 points, surged past 3,500 in May, and has posted all-time highs 5 times in the past 2 weeks. On Wednesday, the Dow jumped over the moon when it closed above 3,600 for the first time ever. But even while American corporations are collectively setting stock market records on Wall Street, some of our best-known companies are cutting record numbers of employees. Eastman Kodak, 10,000 jobs. Apple Computer, 2,500 employees, 16% of its workforce. IBM, more than 50,000 jobs. And one other confounding sign of the times, the June trade deficit report out yesterday was the worst in 6 years as imports outstripped exports by $12 billion, up 44% from May.
And money editor Tyler Matheson, also an executive editor of Money Magazine, is here now. Also joining us is David Jones, chief economist at the securities firm Aubrey Langston. Good to have you both here. Exciting day yesterday. All-time high. You know, what's going on here? Why?
It's a revolution, Joan, in personal finance, really. People are moving money out of those low-yielding 2.5% CDs and in a flood moving into the stock market. I think every broker in the country says, get your money out of those low-yielding CDs. I've got a guaranteed market for you. Stocks will only go up. There's only one problem. We both know that can't happen. And one thing really troubles me. In October of odd years, we have stock market crashes. 1987, 1989, 1929.
And this is 1993. And what goes up must come down. But that is the fear that, I mean, that this is like an inflated situation, that people might start pulling their money out, too. And in fact, is that a good idea?
Well, the danger would be that's exactly what would happen. Tyler can mention the details, but I think we have something like 4,000 mutual funds, both bond and equity funds. There's a million choices. The danger sign is when you're riding on the subway and people are reading the stock market quotes instead of the sports pages. That has begun to happen. So speculation is here. And again, if we have a little bit of extra inflation, if the Fed tightens short-term rates and raises those CD rates, the money will stop flowing into the stock market, and we may have trouble.
That's right. I mean, you've been here, Tyler, for months saying, you know, you're not getting a good interest rate over here. Take it out, put it in the stock market. Now people are going to see these high stock market prices and say, I mean, how high can it really go? I better get out while I can.
Well, I think more people make mistakes by trying to time the market, either getting out before it goes down or getting in just before it goes up. The smarter thing to do is to invest for the long term. You really shouldn't be in the stock market at all with any money that you're going to need within the next year or so. That's only for money that you can afford to be without for 5 years or so. The smart way to invest is to put a set amount of dollars into a mutual fund or into stocks at fixed intervals, $50 a pay period, $100. This way, you don't put all your money into the market at what later turns out to be a market peak, and you even out the cost of your shares.
Well, let me ask you something, I mean, because you're always saying put money into mutual funds, but are mutual funds worrisome right now since they buy stocks?
Well, I think some of them are. It depends on the kind of mutual fund you're in. If it's a very aggressive, high growth-oriented mutual fund, yes, those will fall more than the market will fall if there is a 10 to 15% pullback, as many experts predict. There are other kinds of stock mutual funds that are more conservative, that pay dividends, that can protect you a little bit. The real key, though, is to diversify so that you don't have 100% of your money in there.
That's Tyler's key word always, diversification.
Yeah, but if ever, Joan, it's
this
now.
Is now. You've got to protect yourself.
And that means not just in domestic stocks, but perhaps some in Europe. Europe is about a year behind us. We're recovering slowly right now. Europe is still in recession. So the answer is the rally in the stock market that we have seen perhaps most of is yet to occur in Europe. And so be careful about currency relationships. You need to watch that a bit more closely when you're moving to another country. But the idea is take advantage of those markets internationally, both bonds and stocks.
Well, we just came off the big news being that this budget passed in Congress. Now, a lot of economists say that that budget is going to suppress our economy. Now, what kind of effect will that have on the stock market?
Well, the worst possible combination may occur. We may see a weaker economy and fewer jobs, as Tyler talked about in the piece that led into this session. The problem is that we may have slower growth on one side and inflation picking up on the other. One piece of news on that trade deficit that we just saw mentioned is that a lower dollar means higher prices of Japanese cars. We may have higher inflation and lower growth. That could be the worst possible combination later in the year.
Okay, that's the worst. What's the best scenario of how the economy would get back on track?
Well,
what do we want to see happen?
We want to see the deficit really start to come down, which would mean that interest rates could stay relatively low. I think we probably are closer to the bottom in interest rates than anything else.
I would hope so.
Also, a lot of the companies that have restructured and have cut workers and costs will see their profits improve. When business picks up a little bit, those profits are going to go straight to the bottom line of these companies, and so we could see improving profitability in some of those large companies. That will help the stock market. But I think 6 to 9 months, there is a significant risk that the market will pull back. 7 out of the last 8 inaugurations, a major correction has occurred within 18 months of that inauguration.
Right.
That's no coincidence. That's because presidents like to get the bad news out of the way early in their terms so that then they can be ready to run for re-election again for a year.
That falls into the old October stock market. How high will it go, do you think, before it?
We could hit, I don't know, 3,800 if I had to make a guess. But by the end of the year, we could be down significantly from that level.
But you're going to be looking over your shoulder in October.
That's exactly right.
Okay. All right. Thanks, David. Thanks, Tyler. Next, upping the ante in the search for the mastermind of the World Trade Center bombing. Good Morning America continues.
Attention.
In our next half hour of Good Morning America, actress Deborah Winger and her new film, Wilder Napalm.
It's just about 19 minutes after the hour. Since the World Trade Center bombing last February, one suspect has evaded capture. He may have been the mastermind, his name Ramzi Ahmed Youssef. But now the State Department is putting a price of up to $2 million on his head. This ad will be appearing in newspapers throughout the world. It's the first time ever that the U.S. government has offered a reward for information about an individual terrorist. And joining us is Anthony Quainton, Assistant Secretary of State for Diplomatic Security, who's in charge of the Counterterrorism Rewards Program, and Stephen Emerson, a journalist and terrorism analyst. Thanks for coming in. Anthony, this is the first time you've targeted an individual. Why the change at this time?
Well, as you note, we have targeted a whole range of previous terrorist incidents in order to get information which would bring people to justice. But the World Trade Center bombing is such an important event, and Ramzi Ahmed Youssef, one of the indicted people involved, is so important to that we felt that it was critical to try and find him so that he could be brought to justice. And the campaign, which will be going on throughout the world, but particularly in the Middle East, is an effort to bring to justice and bring back Ramzi Ahmed Youssef.
Yeah. Steve, let me ask you this. Do you think it's likely that terrorists who are fanatical and committed to a cause will succumb to the lure of cash?
Well, that's an interesting question. We can only, I guess, speculate on the basis of previous successes. And there have been quite a few informants, as well as some terrorist operatives, who have been lured by the prospect of millions of dollars and relocation to the United States. It turns out that even terrorists have a price.
And could you give us some examples of where you have succeeded?
Well, over the last 8 or 9 years since the program came into existence, we've paid out about $2 million for a dozen different cases where rewards were justified. One of the ones which we often mention was during the Gulf War, when we were able to prevent several major acts of terrorism in the Far East. We don't go into the details, but where we were able to save lives of women, children, travelers, and we paid some rewards in that connection.
But these rewards were not paid as the result of newspaper ads, were they? This was just a payoff for information.
That's right. The program is a payoff for information to bring to justice known terrorists or to help prevent acts of terrorism in the future. It's both. And the campaign that we have going on in the next few days, the next few weeks, is designed to make people aware of the program.
My understanding is that there will be another ad run around the world in the next few days, that relating to Pan Am 103 and the explosion over Lockerbie.
That's exactly right. And another one of the major terrorist incidents in recent years, and we want to make sure that people don't forget that the perpetrators of that crime have not yet been brought to justice.
And you've been following terrorism activities for years. Is it your belief that this sort of program helps split terrorist cells?
I think this is one of the most effective programs. I mean, I've been chronicling various aspects of U.S. counterterrorism strategy for the last 12 years, and there has been a basic problem in U.S. counterterrorism strategy. It hasn't worked. There's been a lot of infighting in the services militarily and apprehensiveness about use of force. This is a program that's relatively cost-free that has resulted in several major breakup terrorist cells. In Lebanon, there have been various leads provided to by informants to the United States because of advertisements regarding the issue of the U.S. hostages who were taken in the 1980s. In Southeast Asia, in Thailand, during the Gulf War, a major terrorist cell was broken up because of the information provided by an informant. Yeah. So this thing really does work.
Steve, thank you. Anthony Quainton, thank you for joining us. It's 23 minutes after the hour. In our next hour, meet the new Annie Warbucks.
Tonight on Newsroom 6.